Review our trades for today. Today is Friday, April 28th of 2023. And today we did 3 trades in our main option trading account. All of them were cash secured put options we sold. The first one was we sold the AMT June 16th, $200 cash secured put option, and received $5.30 per share for that put option. Now AMT is a position that we actually have a covered call in it, and we had a cash secured put option position in it earlier, but we closed it out to avoid earnings, being in that position through earnings. So we're looking for an opportunity to go ahead and enter a new cash secure put option position, and decided to go ahead and do that today. And here's why. So AMT, it had a nice incline or increase in price from late March through about the middle part of April, and now it's been declining. And after announcing earnings, it came down and it found support right at our $200 strike price. So what's interesting about this area, that's the area that served as support for back here in November. And if we switch over to our weekly charts, we're going to go even farther back. We see that it found support back in March of 2021. If we go even farther back, see it found support back in the fall of 2019, as well as the summer of 2019. And before that, it found resistance at that same area in April of 2019. So an area that really has served as a lot of support and resistance for AMT for a long time. Now what's interesting is that it did blow through that support right here back in February. And then that area generally served as resistance for it before it came down again and ran through that resistance area and through the 50 moving average. So now it's come back down. Notice the volume is not very high. Notice over the past several weeks, as the stock has been declining, the volume hasn't been exceptionally strong. It's actually well below the 50-day moving average of volume. So volume isn't very high by the sellers. It's showing their excitement isn't all that great, although there is enough to push the stock down, so we do want to remember that. Looking over the hourly or 60-minute chart, we see that it's trading right around both the 250 moving average here. It was trading below it, which of course we prefer it to be trading above it. It went above it back on the 27th, so yesterday around noon it broke out above it, and now throughout the day, yesterday and then today, it traded above it. So will it hold? Well, we'll have to see. Now just keep in mind there is definitely the possibility that AMT will come down, because overall the stock is in a downtrend. Has it made a higher low on this weekly chart? Well, we don't know yet. It appears it has, but we need to see where the next high comes in at, so we'll have to, time will tell as far as that. Notice over the past several weeks, couple months, there's been nice buying pressure, predominantly by the buyers, so that's positive for us. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that, look, we're in a downward sloping trading channel here. There's definitely a possibility for AMT to come down. Another reason why I felt comfortable doing this, when sometimes I would have waited, is that we have that covered call. So if we need to roll the put option down, we can use some of the cash from rolling the covered call option down to help pay for getting our strike price in a better position if AMT declines. All right, so the next position we did was we sold one of the AMZN June 16th $100 cash secured put options for $2.55 per share. It's a company that all of us should be very familiar with. Amazon, we only did one contract, so we definitely have room to add to this one, and I plan to if it continues to show nice support here. So let's start here at the hourly chart, what I liked and didn't like. So over this hourly chart, we see that it's been trading above this 200 moving average, going all the way back to March. So about a month and a half, it's been trading above that moving average, been serving as support for it, and we find that it's still above that moving average. It did get pretty far away from it back several days ago, but now it's retreated back down to close to that moving average. Do expect it, definitely has the possibility of coming back down to that moving average, which will put it right around our $100 strike price or just above it. Looking over here at the daily chart, we find some interesting things going on, because Amazon's running into a lot of interesting things here. We have the 200 moving average, it ran into it, found resistance right above it, now it's come back below it, but then it's riding this 50 moving average, the green 50 moving average, as support. And that's of course where we sold our cash secured put option. Notice that overall Amazon is in a nice uptrend on this daily chart. It made a nice higher low here, and of course it hasn't made a higher high yet, because this high was so high, spiked up for one day and then came back down. If it wasn't for that one spike, then we would have made a higher high yesterday. So we'll have to see where the high comes in at. Is it this one here, or will it go higher? But if it can solidly break out above this 200 moving average here, then we'll be in a good spot, because Amazon could run higher. So I'll look to add this position as long as it continues to find support above our $100 strike price, which is right at the green 50 moving average or just below it. It's also right in an area that served as resistance for it here, which should turn into support for it. Going back, we see it's an area that served as resistance for it here. So again, resistance once broken tends to turn to support, which you saw it do that a couple days ago. About 4 days ago it did that. So it wouldn't surprise me if it came down. If it does, we'll look to add to it as long as it doesn't look like it's going to continue lower. In our volume, we see nice, high, strong green bars over the past several weeks. We see the buyers have been dominant. Today was a big down day, and that's why we decided to sell today, but the volume wasn't as high as it was yesterday, so we like that. Over here on the weekly chart, we're seeing a nice upward sloping trading channel, although long term, when you look at the highs and lows of this long-term waves, we see that right at the upper part of this trading channel. So it's definitely a possibility that Amazon comes back down, or we're switching directions here. Because if it pushes through this green 50 moving average, it'll also be above this upward trend line. See, we're trying to break through it, hasn't done it yet. It's pushed through just a little bit, but not enough to confirm it. So we'll have to see if it can finish pushing through it. So interesting spot for Amazon. It's a company I really like, a company I use a lot, and most likely you do as well. So we'll see how this plays out and look to add this position. Our final one is in CME. We sold the CME June 16th 180 cash secured put option and received $3.82 per share. So pull our chart up here of the CME group. And notice here that overall we see that CME is in a nice, clearly defined uptrend on this daily chart. We see the same thing over here on the weekly chart. It's made a higher low, it's made a higher high, so we're in a confirmed uptrend. However, it's kind of trading around the moving averages here on this daily chart. So to some degree, the past two times it's kind of ignored them. Whereas the 200 moving average served as resistance for it here. When it blew through it here, it didn't serve as resistance. When it came back down, it didn't serve as support. So then we switched to our trend lines, and we see that it's finding support at these trend lines. And so we're expected to come down possibly to right at our 180 strike price and find support there, at least temporarily. Notice as it's been declining over the past several days, the volume was decreasing, and today was a lower volume bar. It was a green bar, but that signifies that we could have ended this most recent downward move that happened over the past 3 days. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Now looking at our hourly chart, this is what we don't want to see. We don't really want to see the stock we're trading in, if we're bullish on it, trading below these moving averages. These are shorter term, they're not as important as the daily or weekly, but our preference would be for these to be above the moving averages. So that's not exactly how we want it, because it's trading both below the green 50 and red 200 moving average on this hourly or 60-minute chart. Finally, we come to our weekly chart, the one that really long term is what I look for, because it should dictate the direction. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we're in a nice uptrend. We see that it successfully pushed through the green 50 and red 200 moving averages, although now it's come back down. But here you see that trading channel is clearly defined, and we're now approaching it. So next week, it wouldn't surprise me at all if CME came down and got real close and tested this lower portion of this upward sloping trading channel for support. So that's when we'll see if it has definitely found support there. Notice that this week it was on a higher volume. Sellers came in and pushed the stock down, but buyers were able to come in and buy it back up towards the end of the week, so that we ended up with a little leg there. Not enough to really tell us a whole lot, but it was a little leg. It was on higher volume, so has it switched? We see the volume was declining over the past few weeks as CME was going down, but then this week the volume picked up. Now, was that because buyers came in and bought it up? Well, it could have been. We'll be able to know more for sure next week. So that's our trades for today. I hope you have a great weekend.